The morality of an adult posing as a child online, a critical exploration. The digital age has opened countless avenues for connection and communication, but it has also exposed individuals, particularly children, to a wide range of risks. Among the most concerning of these risks is the phenomenon of adults pretending to be children online to interact with minors. While this behavior manifests in various ways, one of the most alarming is when grown men disguise themselves as 12-year-old boys to communicate with children as young as 11, often engaging in inappropriate discussions and sharing illegal material. This behavior is not only illegal but deeply immoral, and it represents a gross violation of trust and innocence. The predatory nature of deception. When an adult pretends to be a child online, they inherently engage in deception. Children, who are still developing their critical thinking and judgment skills, may easily trust someone who seems to be their peer. By impersonating a young person, the adult takes advantage of this vulnerability. Children expect a level of honesty and transparency in their relationships, even those conducted through the internet. An adult who violates this trust undermines a child's ability to distinguish between safe and unsafe interactions, potentially leading to harmful real-life consequences. The power imbalance between an adult and a child is profound. Children look to adults for guidance, protection, and structure. When an adult abuses this power by pretending to be a peer, they distort the natural boundaries that should exist between adults and minors. This not only confuses the child's understanding of relationships but also leaves them open to manipulation. The adult's behavior is predatory by nature, as they exploit the innocence and inexperience of children for their own purposes, whether that involves explicit conversations, sharing illegal content, or other inappropriate actions. The consequences of sharing illegal material. Sharing illegal material, particularly sexually explicit material involving minors, is a grievous offense. Not only does it perpetuate the victimization of the children involved in such content, but it also normalizes harmful behaviors in the minds of young viewers. When an adult shares such material with children, they expose them to psychological harm and can contribute to the development of unhealthy perceptions of sexuality and relationships. Children are not developmentally equipped to process or understand the implications of such material. Adults who expose them to it strip them of their innocence and can cause long-lasting psychological trauma, including confusion, guilt, shame, and anxiety. Moreover, it can affect the child's understanding of consent and appropriate boundaries, which can have serious consequences for their future relationships. The exploitation of sexual innocence. Adults talking about sex with children, particularly under the guise of being another child, is morally reprehensible. Children are in the early stages of forming their understanding of sexuality, and they should not be prematurely exposed to sexual discussions or behavior, especially not in ways that are exploitative or coercive. The adult in this scenario is not engaging in a peer-to-peer conversation but is instead using their greater knowledge and power to manipulate a child into discussions they are not ready for. The harm in these interactions goes beyond the immediate conversation. Children can carry the emotional and psychological burden of such interactions into adolescence and adulthood, resulting in trust issues, confusion about sexuality, and difficulties forming healthy relationships. The adult's actions, therefore, can have long-term consequences that extend well beyond the initial interaction. Moral responsibility of adults. At its core, the behavior of an adult pretending to be a child online to engage with minors is morally indefensible. Adults have a responsibility to protect the well-being of children, not exploit their naivety. This includes respecting the boundaries that exist between adults and children, both online and in real life. The very foundation of a moral society is built upon protecting the most vulnerable members. Children, by virtue of their age and developmental stage, are particularly vulnerable. It is the duty of every adult to ensure that children are not exposed to harm, whether physical, emotional, or psychological. Any adult who engages in such behavior has betrayed this fundamental responsibility. The reasons behind an adult's decision to pose as a child, whether for a sense of power, control, or other personal issues, do not excuse the behavior. Regardless of the motivations, the outcome is the same: the exploitation and harm of a child. No adult should ever seek to rationalize or justify such actions. Instead, they should be universally condemned. In conclusion, the act of a grown man pretending to be a 12-year-old boy online to interact with children is not only illegal but also profoundly immoral. It violates the trust and innocence of children, exposes them to inappropriate material, and exploits their vulnerability. Adults have a moral obligation to protect children, and any behavior that undermines this responsibility is not only harmful but reprehensible. No adult, under any circumstances, should ever engage in this kind of behavior. Society must take a firm stance against such actions to ensure that children are safeguarded from exploitation and abuse in all forms. By doing so, we can help protect the innocence and well-being of future generations.